happened over and over again, change of guard in the top hierarchy of the Nigerian military. But this very one, what do you make of it?
Right. No, I say I'm not an expert in these affairs, but I'll go by what the general said. I think the key point he made was that there's a tenure for these positions, and the tenure is 2 years. And when the tenure is not obeyed, it does demotivate people who are behind. And that was the general feeling we had, that it was a good decision made by the president. Whether it's to do with a coup rumor or other intelligence, I wouldn't know. So I'll just stay with the expert opinion offered by the general that this is a good thing because the service provisions say the office or whatever should be occupied for 2 years. So that would be my reaction.
But when you see a man who's not got a lot of military background compared to some former presidents in Nigeria make this audacious move, especially when that kind of thing happens, it's bold, isn't it? And what kind of message do you think this will send to the rank and file in the military?
Well, it will send to the rank and file that you have a president who is prepared to take tough decisions, and we know that the president always likes to take tough decisions, even though some of those decisions don't have consequential knock-on effects. So again, he has taken a tough decision because we know that President Buhari wasn't prepared to take tough decisions, and he allowed his military chiefs to stay far longer than they should have. So our president has again taken a tough one. But the big question would be, will this decision impact on the security situation in Nigeria? I think that's what we need to see.
I mean, so there are those who will see these from different perspectives. One, as a survivor mode that the president has entered into and has activated. Because if there is a rumored coup, nobody, in fact, during the military era, rumor of a coup is a death sentence. I mean, you don't want to take chance as the head of state and the head of the military. You don't want to take chance. And imagine that on the other hand, there are those who will say it will send some confidence building into the military. And on the other hand, it's a case of whoever is behind, either true or false, we know that game is over. But I hope that wherever this smoke is coming from, it's totally over. We cannot. Some of you were thrown behind the bar. Some of you exiled out of the country during the military days. That is a path that we don't want to return to. We do not want to see any military person rule this country in terms of being in a khaki and ruling this country. It is a dangerous scenario that is playing out, isn't it? Well, especially for what we see in our 4 or 5 nations of Africa.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So if it is indeed true that there was a rumored coup and intelligence came to the president that there was this rumor, then I think he would be sensible to do exactly what he has done. It's only sensible to take a decision that would not impair the security of Nigeria. So whether it's a rumored coup or the 2-year example given by the retired general, the decision by the president has been taken. What we now need to see is the impact of the decision. Will it improve security, which is the problem? Is it going to make that radical, transformational change to the Nigerian situation? So all the killings around Nigeria will go down. If that happens, then I'll say kudos to the president.
Mr. Agbakuba, my major reason for inviting you tonight is one policy document that you've taken time to draft. And you said that according to that bold new policy document, you said that Nigeria's pathway to true transformation lies not in more economic tinkering, but in a total restructuring of power and governance. That document you titled, "Devolution is the Solution." Now, in all of what you've said, you have called for the complete replacement of the 1999 Constitution, transfer of key powers to state and local government, and a governance model rooted in fiscal federalism, where productivity, not central control, drives development. These are some of the issues that you have raised, and you broke it down into segments. I took my time to dissect that document. You said that for us as a country, the reform agenda will help Nigeria in terms of control of their resources and the federating unit to be able to stand on their feet, and it will unlock what you call over 25 to 35 trillion naira in new annual revenue opportunities. So let's begin that conversation around that document. We'll do some literary appraisal and analysis or critique of it. First and foremost, the question anybody will ask you, now, constitution amendment we want chop. Now, constitution be our problem. For those who cannot feed, for those who are having a hard time, they will say, oh, now that won't be our problem. Mr. Ibakuba, that won't be our problem.
I agree entirely. But also, we must confront the problem. I agree that people on the streets are going to say, how does that concern us? This seems like another academic discourse. But we must engage the issues. But before I do that, let me use this opportunity, because in your intro, you referred to Showore and the travails he's going through today. So I wanted to use the opportunity to applaud him for what he's doing. He was, when I was very active, he was one of my strong commanders of street protests. So I'm very pleased that he's carried on what we're doing. So that, I think, ought to be applauded. Because if you don't applaud people for what they're doing, then he may say, is anybody behind me? So I want you, Showore, to know that I'm absolutely 100% behind you. And that keys in with the whole, trajectory of Nigeria's democratic challenge. How can we have spent 25 years discussing constitutional amendments? That's my problem. And that's why we are in such a bad situation. And that's why I say the only way we can get to grips with Nigeria's problem is to look at the foundation of this country. So I liken Nigeria to a 50-story building. And we can see the architects have come to examine the building, and the engineers have said, unless you bring this building down, it's going to collapse. So that's what I think Nigeria will face as it goes along. Unless we say to ourselves, this constitution isn't working. Let's stop this hypocrisy. It's not working. No amount of amendment, shaving this one, changing that will make it work. And if you don't get the constitutional processes right, if you don't build the political foundation, put it in good order, you can never have economic prosperity. So this is the connection. And that's why we have 140 million very dispossessed and hungry Nigerians. So the thesis behind my policy paper is, let's fix the constitution. And we can only fix the constitution by looking at the nature of our federalism. It's too strong. Abuja is the competition. Everybody wants to be in Abuja because all the power is in Abuja. There's no power in my local government where I come from, in Onitsha. Nobody wants to be chairman of the local government of Onitsha. Everybody wants to be either governor or the president. The president has far too many powers. He can't exercise those powers effectively. And that's why we have these challenges. So my thesis is this. If you want economic prosperity, involve more of the political leaders in the process. We have 774 local governments, 36 governors who are idle. Maybe Lagos and Rivers. Maybe the other states are bankrupt. They depend on printed money from the central bank. They are absolutely fiscally deficit. They can't function. They have to come to Abuja every month to collect printed banknotes to go and pay their civil servants. What type of a country is this? What kind of a country is this? We've got to face the reality that this country is not working. And the only way to make it work is to devolve power from the center down to the states.
Yeah. So you're speaking in a language that a lot of Nigerians should be itching to know how you will break down the solution. And I'm going to come there. Yeah, and I'm going to go there in a moment. Let me take a break, but when we come back, my question to you, Mr. Agbakoba, and I'd like you to help me prepare the way you will answer, is that, is it a new constitution, or we can use welder and plumber and bricklayer to panabit the one we have right now? If not, can the political leadership of today decide for us that we are going to have a new constitution? That's a major problem. Are there going to be those ones who will be the barrier in us getting to our destination? That's going to be my next question to you after this break. Mr. Agbakoba. We'll be right back. Everyone for staying with us. Mr. Ulisa Agbakoba, a very senior lawyer and a former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, has come out with a document, a very detailed one, describing how Nigeria can get out of the conundrum, which I described tonight as a constitutional conundrum, because we say there's a problem with the constitution, but how do we exit it? What do we do with it? We've been repairing and repairing. We've done 5 alterations of that document since 1999, when we got into the Fourth Republic. But the question is the constitution a problem? If it is, how do we get rid of it? Can we exit it? What about the vacuum? Mr. Agbakoba has seen it all. Constitutional amendments, framing of new constitution from 79 to dates and all of that, the Republican constitution, a lot of things that have happened in this country. Mr. Agbakoba, my question, which I laid a premise to before we went on that break, is that what do we need? When you say that there's a structural problem, it lies in the fundamentals of what brings us together as a people, meaning that our constitution is lacking the fortification to allow the state to function properly. Then the question, do we need a new constitution, or we can keep amending this one, or where do we go from here?
Yeah, well, I think history can help us answer the question you have posed. Remember that the late Bola Ige once posed 2 important questions. The first question he put to us back then, when he was alive, was, what do we want to do? Are we prepared to be in one country called Nigeria? That was the first important, critical question that he put on the table. He then put a second subsidiary question. If we answer in the positive, that we want to be one, what type of arrangements do we think suits us? Those are the 2 questions. Since Bola Ige's death over 20 years ago, these 2 questions have been unanswered. And I think that is part of our problem. We all know that we are a nation of diverse people. Our president returned us to the national anthem, which I think people say suits us better than the Arise or Compatriots. Now, if you have diverse people, then you are looking for a political arrangement that will suit our diversity. That's where federalism comes in. So we agree that a federal system is suitable for Nigeria. The problem is, what type of federal system is suitable? There's several. In political language, we talk about centripetal and centrifugal. Centrifugal meaning a pyramid where everything is on top. Centripetal meaning that everyone has space. The late Chief M.K. Obiala once put it to me in a very, very simple way. He said, he's got 4 wives, and if all wives were centralized in his one big building, and they all have children, and the quarrel would be, what soup do we have for the day? It'll be what Nigerians call kata kata. But what he said made sense to me. If you put the wives in different arrangements around his big mansion, then whatever wife wants to make whatever soup or rice for whatever kid, there'll be no problem, because that is been devolved at another level, not his level. That, I think, is so apt for Nigeria. Nigeria is made up of 300 different ethnicities, several languages, but we have only one strong presidential system. Only one president with all the powers. That's the problem. The governors have no powers. They're not chief security officers. When Rotimi Amechi was governor of Anambra of River State, he wasn't even allowed into his government lodge because the police blocked him out. So the real question that we need to pose is, do we have a constitution that reflects our federalism? That's all. We don't. Do I trust the national